Ken Mahamat. It's been a while since we had this conversation. We're back at Mozambique in Mill Park, Johannesburg, talking rugby. Rugby Scamtho is the name of the show. And a lot has happened since we last spoke. You know, one of the best things about living in a country like South Africa is like it's completely and supremely resilient.
Yeah.
4th of April, Muzi, we had a whole lot happen. Welcome back, and how you doing, my man?
Thank you very much. Of course, Varsity Cup really just kicked off, and that's one of the competition that we've been waiting for like the whole year. Nothing happened last year, and it was so lovely just to see those traditional colors of the universities and players just getting out there and just expressing themselves. Although we all know that there was no crowds, but still, I think it was so good just to see at least the guys just getting out there and just doing what they love best.
And what was interesting is they were playing in the bubble, in a bio bubble,
Yeah.
making sure that like they remain safe out in Pretoria,
Yeah.
Which might have affected one or two of the teams who are not being able to play at home, surrounded by their home crowds with Ikwijo and all of that. But I would imagine that like Varsity Cup and Shield, which started a few days after Varsity Cup started, has been like a breath of fresh air for those rugby players because they couldn't do anything for the longest time.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it was a totally different setup from everyone else in terms of the universities, because they had to stay in Pretoria, all of them in one place, and making sure that they don't get into contact with anyone else. I mean, nevertheless, I think one thing that the players really just wanted to do was just to get out there and make sure that they do make it happen. And of course, there were quite a few teams that are felt as if they were playing in their home ground with their spectators, it could have been a totally different story. Just looking at Martins, if I can name one, I mean, they lost their game against, obviously, University of Cape Town, and then, their Ikes. And I was just thinking that, this game was so close. But imagine if this game was played in Stellenbosch with the full people, with the full students there singing, having fun. It was totally going to be a different story. Yeah, it is. Yes, it is. Definitely.
Let's talk a little bit about that. I mean, we've covered a little bit on like the atmosphere of the competition itself. But Varsity Cup really is a premier competition for university rugby players before they become pro. And it's the quality of rugby has actually been surprisingly very good, considering the long layoff that these players have had.
It's been very good. First, I was looking at some few specifics, the team's fitness, the handling errors, the skill level, and then I really just find that, obviously when the teams were just starting to play, for that first 5-10 minutes, you see that the players are nervous and all that stuff. Yeah. But once they all started just to settle down in a game, you could see that the structures of the game is just coming on now, and their goals are coming. Players are getting more confident as the game goes and all that stuff. And then, of course, the skill level was quite high. I mean, just to think of it, the CUTs, the Techs, the Ikes, the Marties, the Peck of this world, you can really tell that, the guys are looking forward to make it happen. So a little bit of worry about, a couple of universities that we all know that they are big. The Vets is right at the bottom now, in number 10, if you're looking at the log. And then at UJ as well, they're sitting on the 9th place. And then looking at Madiba, they are on the 8th spot.
Although this is their first year.
It is their first year.
Yeah, they got promoted from Shield.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're back in action now. At least, they're trying their best. But then again, if you look at it now, currently, they're top of UJ and they're top of Vets. And then this is the team that really just being introduced, this year because, they've been always relegated and all that stuff. But then if you're looking at the log up on top, I mean, who would ever imagine, the CUT from Bloemfontein, sitting right up on top there. They've won their 3 games. How great is that? Obviously, with the Texas as well just hosting it, you would expect them to do well all the time because for them it's more like they're playing at home. And of course, Ikes, who we all know that they've got some very good management in terms of coaching. You can tell the way they play that they've got totally different, mindset now. Not too many people know this. Robbie Flack, who used to coach the Stormers.
Yeah.
He's one of their consultants there at Ikes.
He also played at inside centre. He also played at inside centre for the Stormers.
Yeah. So they've got very good personnel there at Ikes. Hence, you see the results just coming through now.
Well, I'm so surprised that Robbie Fleck would be playing a pivotal role with the Ikes team. And what is surprising, the Central University of Technology from Bloem is sitting at the top of the Varsity Cup log. That is definitely a surprise. Considering also that like Martins, like you mentioned earlier, lost their derby against Ikes.
Against Ikes, they lost that game, a very close game, very entertaining game, excellent. It was just one of those games where I felt as if, wow, if we had 10,000 people in the stadium, it was going to be more electrifying. But then again, we all know that we're right in the middle of the big crisis in the world.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, I really thought that the boys really just enjoy themselves.
Now, there are a couple of teams that are sitting up, like close to the CUT who are currently unbeaten.
Yeah, obviously, you know, we're looking at our
three
Turks.
matches in.
Yeah. Turks, you know, they are really up there. Ikeys as well.
Yep.
Matches have only just lost one game.
Yep.
And then Perker, I think they've just lost one. They're sitting on the 5th position.
Yep.
And then the UWC, we got to talk about them as well. You know, being coached by former Springbok coach Sevens, Paul True. They're sitting right on number 6. They've won, you know, some games, which I really thought that it was great.
Yep.
And then I think slowly but surely, I mean, if you look at the way they've played, you know, in like a couple of seasons back, and looking at them now, you could tell that Paul True has been doing a very hard work there. He just needs to keep exactly the same players. I tell you what, that's going to be another university that will really make, you know, very big inroads, just given time with Paul True with his troops.
Let's talk a little bit about Varsity Shields now.
Yeah.
Varsity Shields has actually been quite interesting as well, because the one thing that stood out for me, Varsity Shields is one level below in terms of, I'd say, tiers of university rugby. But it's been predominantly young black boys that are showing up on those pitches. You know, and some amazing plays that I've seen there. And speaks a lot in terms of the depth of rugby in this country. That regardless what level you want to look at, the rugby, the quality, both individually as well as this team, is actually very good. What's your big take?
You know, you see, my big take is it's just an excitement if you're looking at the tier 2 in terms of Varsity Cup. You don't really know exactly what will happen when those two teams, all these teams play. Obviously, except the DUT, the Durban University Technical.
No, the debutants.
Yeah, they just debutant. You could see that they've been getting a lot of pounding. They've received about 200 points, within 2 games there. You really just kind of understand exactly what's happening. But I mean, if you watch USU playing against a CPUT, it's just amazing. You're not really quite sure what exactly that's going to be happening. Right at the end, in the last 20 minutes, you see the teams that are probably a little bit fitter or more focused, getting away with it as well. And then the TUT as well, where I felt in their first game, they worked very hard, struggling. They won very nicely, but then again, I don't think that it was more of like a constructive in terms of them, the way they played. But the second game, they actually beat, the KZN, Technical, where I really thought, oh, okay, things are coming along there. You could see that as well. They based their game in terms of their big forwards from Pretoria. We all know that. There's quite a few there. The scrummaging has been so superb and all that stuff. Come with the turning trolley, the former Lion Center and Border there, he's their head coach, including a Pai who's played for the Border, you know what I mean? So you could tell that those personnels slowly but surely they're actually just molding those players. Not to forget that some of the players that are playing there, they were probably just being registered in January or in Feb. So they've had a couple of players within 2 to 3 weeks, and all of a sudden they're playing in this competition. And then I think it's so great just to see those players just getting it out there. Quite disappointed with Rhodes University. I mean, Rhodes, we all know it's a big name. There's quite a few players that really just came in from Rhodes. They're sitting on the 6th spot, and they're not really just doing that well. I'm not quite sure whether they didn't really just adjust in terms of preparing for this competition. We all know there's a bubble, there's fitness level that is actually needed from the players. But then again, it's just good to see some of the universities that we expect them just to do well, who have played in the final. The Wusus, they're sitting right up on top at number 2. And then, of course, the CPUT as well, who is actually leading at this stage, making sure that they're leading this log of the Varsity Cup.
Yeah, no, very interesting, like how we also had a bit of controversy, a bit of news, which was emanated from on the field, but WSU, doing the haka. And it was actually very interesting. I mean, they went to town with that. Interesting enough, there were a lot of comments that came through from that, both negative and positive.
Yeah, look, funny enough, everyone is talking about it now because all the games now on TV. They've been doing it for the past couple of years. And it's their tradition. They really just.
What they do,
hence, they call themselves WSU All Blacks.
In homage to the original All Blacks.
Yeah, look, there's one or two things that I really think that it's important that we mustn't miss the point that there's been quite a few outcries about why these boys are doing some haka and all that stuff, and yada yada, especially from the South African point of view, which is, it's a concern, from everyone else. But then again, let's not forget that they perhaps maybe needed an identity that they couldn't really find there in South Africa. Perhaps maybe one thing that we need to worry about is that for them to actually identify themselves with the All Blacks, while we're sitting here in South Africa, we've got the Springboks, we've got the Bulls, we've got all these other teams that really still produce the best rugby that you do have in South Africa. For me, I think that's my concern. It would be very nice just to sit down with them and say, okay guys, hey, listen, I see you guys doing an haka and all that stuff. Was there anything else that you guys couldn't you have a look at in South African contest and say, okay, fine, maybe you identify yourself with that? I think that could be a very interesting one.
That would be an interesting conversation, but the reality of the matter is they at no point were disrespecting the haka. They did it extremely well. In fact, almost to the T, they copied the All Blacks. And
then I think the New Zealanders, they were happy. Most of
the rugby union out in New Zealand was like,
they were happy about it.
There's absolutely nothing wrong with this. Well done. Big up to those boys for actually learning it and doing it so well.
They still pushing their brand. That's my biggest worry. All Blacks, they are happy when everyone is just embracing their culture and their brand. That's why they were like, okay, no, that's fine. We don't. Never mind. We're very happy about this.
But it's nobody else, like you're right, but it's nobody else's fault other than us as South Africans that we don't have enough of a focus on our own culture to inspire these young men to try and bring out some of our culture into the field. They've been inspired for the All Blacks. Big up to the All Blacks. May they continue until we come up with something that's more inspirational.
Yeah, I think we have to. We see that these youngsters of this world, they're really being exposed to a whole lot of things that is happening in the world or in South Africa. But then again, I think just big up for them. The main fact that they were doing it properly, I was quite happy, just for them to see them really just doing it properly. You see like going crazy, and some of them had like big tattoos in their hands. I was like, okay,
big up.
Not too shabby,
So, but all of this is really like, it's because it's been important that an entity like F&B make sure that it invests in rugby at this level. Make sure that like we have access to young players as they come out of school, as they go into university, regardless which university they go through. We're looking at like some 18, 20 universities that are actually represented in Varsity Cup and Varsity Shield, all because F&B and Steers have made sure that they get involved.
I think the good thing about this, they're still introducing, the newcomers. The DUT, they're new. In this, they have been introduced, so it's just a matter of them just getting their act together. It's all about growing the game. I think they're doing a very great job just making sure that the game has been growing. And then regardless of what, we still need to grow this game a lot in South Africa. And of course, probably maybe right at the later stage, we might look at another project where we say, maybe let's invite, a couple of universities from right up in the north in Africa and try and see if we can bring them here so that we can have fun.
So one of the things that's been happening off field, which we're hoping that doesn't affect the players too negatively, is that UCT has been on fire. The mountain, Table Mountain, just behind the UCT, my alma mater, actually, has been on fire. Yes, the blaze seems to be under control now, but there's been a lot of damage. The mountain as well as the University of Southern Library, Jagger Library, up in flames. I also heard that Smart Hall was also up in flames, and I can imagine that for
they spoke about their library as well. That's gone, which I think is the key.
For those players, it must be really difficult to play in that space. But I think big up to them that they managed to maintain. They managed to keep going in the competition. We talk about alma maters. Just the other day, our production team went through to your alma mater. Out in Jabulan. Out in Jabulan in Soweto.
I believe they were in Soweto in Jabulan. At school. Actually, that's where I really just started my rugby. In the back of the our workshop out there. But then again, there's been a whole lot of things that really just came out of from there. We were the first school to start playing rugby in Soweto those years, long time ago. There was no rugby at all. And of course, we're still continuing. There's some, guys that are still there, really just pushing hard to make sure that, things are happening. To such an extent now, there's women's rugby in Soweto, which is happening. They're playing in the, the national league here in Gauteng. But it's still tough for them in terms of, the equipments and all that stuff. The grass has not been really just being looked after. The resources are still not there, to be honest. But then again, the main fact that the kids are still active, they're really just playing and all that stuff. The likes of Uluzuko, which I know very well that he's the one that is in charge of the ladies, has been doing so much well for that.
And I wonder if Noli managed to get in there, just have a look, see at some of what
I think it's played there, Noni.
Yeah, exactly. And that's probably what she caught her cold, and that's why she's not here right now.
Yeah.
She couldn't make it. Like her voice is sounding really bad. She's gonna go see a doctor to see if she get taken care of. But let's have a look.
Yeah.
At Jabulani and see what the guys picked up while they were out there.
That's home, man.
That's it.
All right. When it comes to COVID-19, it has impacted us very negatively, because in 2019 we already had plans. Like I said before, our under-21s won, actually lost in the final. Under-19s lost in the final. Our senior ladies lost in the final. So we already had momentum going into 2020, wanting to win all of those three leagues. And now COVID-19 hits and we have to start all over from scratch. And between that time, we have lost players. Some have lost interest. Some have not been back yet. We still do not know if they're coming back or not. Some are reluctant to come back this year because they do not know what the safety measures are put in place. Though we are because we are following SARU's protocols, but you know the fear around it. So not everybody is back yet. So we do not know how it's going to go at this point in time. So we're basically starting from scratch completely. And we had people that were really wanted to be partners with us, wanted to invest into the club as well. And now those people, we have to already start to engage them afresh again, get the interest up again, and start to revive old contacts once again. So it's everything starting from the beginning, basically.
All right, you know what? I mean, having a look at what's going on out there at Jabulani, it makes one wonder if this is the pipeline to get into Varsity Shield and Varsity Cup. You know, it really does speak to the resilience of South Africans, making sure that regardless what comes their way, they will meet their targets, their goals. I mean, these are people for whom you, the likes of you, have blazed the path, man.
Yeah, I mean, look, just looking at that footage, that really poor, facilities for the guys, but the main fact is that they're still there, they're still training. I mean, there's no lights, but they're still there. They're going to try and see if they can, train 80 before the sunset and all this stuff. I think it just really means a lot just to see them just doing that.
Let's talk about somebody who needs training, the Springboks. The last time the Springboks played a competitive match was the final of the Rugby World Cup in 2019. We came away with the Webb Ellis Cup. We never really got to celebrate it because boom, straight after that COVID, right?
Yeah.
And on top of that, the Springboks have they've had no game time at the team. No tests, nothing. Not even against Namibia, nobody.
Yeah.
Whereas the Lions, the British and Irish Lions who arriving here June, July, they have been playing in all sorts of different competitions in their teams. The Rainbow Cup is starting up just now.
Yeah, well, this is coming Friday. Yeah.
I'm going to cut to the chase. I see 3-0 to the British and Irish Lions. That's what I see.
That's really hard.
Let's talk about it.
I'll tell you what. This is just unknown zone for Rassie Erasmus, especially for the South African team.
Can we get something right? Who's the head coach of the Springboks? Is it Jacques Nienaber or is it Rassie Erasmus?
Look, I think the big boss is Rassie Erasmus. Let's be honest about it.
Okay, cool.
Jock will be running the day-to-day running of the team, match days and all that stuff. But they still work very close together. I mean, they've been really just around the country, making sure that they've been aligning all these, players that they really would like to really just to be used in terms of for them just playing for their Springbok team. And then they've always just been together all the time. So I think what's the key now is that how are they going to really be able just to put the team together to be very competitive. Remember as well, we still got this big tag that we still have. We're still the world champions. And
yes, with a big target on our backs, right?
Yeah. I mean, everyone that will be playing against the Springbok team, they'll put 110% effort, even 200.
And a whole bunch of those players in the British Irish Lions too were the same English players who handed in their silver medals at the end of that World Cup.
Yeah,
so they've got something to prove. They've got a bit of a vengeance going on in their minds, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's a total different story, that team. It's, being involved with the 4 nations. It's England, Ireland, Wales, and Scotland. And very interesting to see how are they going to be really just molding the team. I see Gregor Tansen has been involved now in one of their attack coach, which we all know that has been very great. He's done very well for the Scotland team. But then again, from the South African point of view, it's going to be very tough, just to put on a very good competitive team. However, just knowing Rassie Erasmus, he's always got something underneath his sleeves. And
like Elton Yankee is playing as a medical joker for Powell.
Do you know Powell?
Powell put him on the log in the top 14.
Yeah.
But I suppose that's giving Elton Yankees game time.
He needs to go play. I'll tell you why it's very good for him just to go there. He needs something else that will really just activate his mind again. I think it's been really stale for me. Yeah. He's been with the Lions for such a long time. Yeah. It's good for him just to go in a totally different environment, different challenges, less pressure there, because for the Lions, he was a captain of the team. But there, he'll need to go there and make sure that he enjoys himself. One thing that I enjoy as well is taking his family across, which I think it's the key. Okay. That support base that he'll need to have there. But then I tell you what, Russie is up to something. I don't think Russell will be sitting out there and not really just trying to plan as much as we can in terms of the box team to make sure that we are going to be competitive. Perhaps maybe, for the first game, we might just struggle a bit in terms of the high tempo and all that stuff. But I guarantee you, once we hit the second game or the third game, I'm sure we'll be right there up on par.
You said something a little interesting earlier on. This one we're talking about Peter Steptoe and 100 Pollard coming back into the side with no game time whatsoever. So they'd probably be like sitting on the bench.
Yep.
But Elton Yankee is going over to medical joker to go play. Medical joker, by the way, is something that the French rugby teams have been calling.
They call it like that,
who comes in for a short period.
2 months, 3 months. That's it,
like to fill in for someone who's injured on their side, right? So it's got nothing to do with the fact that he's not going to be playing serious rugby, Elton. But you said something about Varsity will probably be choosing players who've been getting game time, i.e. overseas-based Springboks.
Yeah, I mean, there's quite a few players that are really active in terms of playing the rugby in Europe. Just the one that comes in mind is Faf de Klerk.
Yeah.
And if you're looking at his team as well, Cell, we've got about 6 or even 7 South African that are playing there. And if you're looking at all the other teams as well in Europe, in Munster, we've got still, the likes of Dialende, who's really active there, just starting at 12.
Yeah.
So there's quite a few players that I really think that they'll definitely help, especially the overseas players, which I really think that they'll understand the players that we are going to be playing against, coming from, that country there in Europe and all that stuff. And then perhaps maybe, the bulk of other players, probably the small percentage will be coming from the South African point of view. Because at the end of the day, you cannot replace the game time. You still gotta have the game time. You gotta be sharp. And I really feel that those players overseas, they're definitely gonna be sharper than our South African players that haven't really been that active yet. Although we'll probably just see in the next 3 weeks or so after this Rainbow Cup has started, how far are we with that?
So we're going to be playing the bubble, so no matches in Durban, no matches in PE, just Cape Town and Johannesburg.
Once again,
I believe first test Joburg, one in Cape Town, and the final one in Joburg.
Yeah.
It should be interesting to see how it is that the Springboks adjust to that with no fans.
A lot of revenue that will be lost there.
Yeah. But having said that, there have been talks that they're going to be trying to see if they can get the English fans in. I'm not sure how it's going to work. What do you know about that?
Nah, I mean, I've heard the media is trying to push their agendas, but I don't see it happening because honestly, if you talk about that, I mean, if we had maybe at least 60 or 70% of the South African population that being vaccinated, perhaps maybe we're going to say, okay, come in, bring the money, bring those money, from Europe and so. But for now, I think it's still a little bit iffy.
All right, now we need to see what happens. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in the British Irish Lions tour. Like I said, for me, judging on what we've just spoken about, it's going to be really difficult for the Springboks to come up tops. I do know that the British Irish Lions tour have actually never had a whitewash in South Africa. And they'll be looking to see if they can get a 3-0. This is one big opportunity for the Boks out of practice. Our preparation is in disarray. No Rainbow Cup. We'll have to see. I'll see a 3-0. I'll see what happens. What's your prediction?
I'll disagree with you.
Yes.
And I'll tell you next time when we chat again.
Is it your heart or your brain talking?
It's both, everything. We're talking about the Springboks here. I'll throw everything with the Boks, making sure that they do well. But then again, you're right. It's not going to be an easy game.
Yeah.
They're not going to be really just easy walkover games. And with Gatland as well, the coach, he knows us very well. He's been there, done that. Yeah. I mean, the last tour when they toured to New Zealand, they really ran New Zealanders very close, and that time New Zealanders, they were probably the best team in the world.
Yep.
And now they're coming here, they really want to try and see if they can really put on a huge upset.
Yeah, well, we're going to be talking about this again as we build up to the British and Irish Lions tour and follow Varsity Cup, follow the Shield.
Yeah.
We'll be making sure that we'll bring you abreast with everything that's happening. make sure that you too out there stay close to Rugby Scamtho, and do make sure that you stay close to all the news and happenings on and sometimes off the field. My name is Kendall Makamate. I've been joined by Muzi Mac Messina, the evergreen and extremely knowledgeable commentator, former rugby player, and colleague of mine. Until the next time, from here in Mozambique, Mill Park, Johannesburg. See you soon. Peace out.